faced and perhaps will face over at least the next couple of quarters. The entire chatter about transparency in all nature of business transactions has come to the forefront. So you have the goal of controlling India's parallel economy, and as an extension, the longer-term vision of creating a cashless economy is taking shape. One charge against the government, though, with its move on demonetization, has been that it's important to clear up the political and the bureaucratic system first, to rid it of rampant corruption. How do you do it? Well, we scroll back in time to July 1st, 2015, when the current dispensation launched that Digital India initiative. And a couple of years later now, we're watching the big move by the government to bring all government procurement on a digital platform. It's an e-marketplace. It's called GEM or GEM, Government E-Marketplace. It's quite like Flipkart or Snapdeal. But how does it work in the government construct of procurement? What are the plans to scale the offering? How much can it achieve by way of transparency and kill corruption as we know it? To discuss all of this and more, we have a great panel today. Vishal Singh is Additional Director of NEGD, that's the National E-Governance Division. Mohandas Pai is Chairman at Manipal Global Education Services. Harish HV, Partner for India Leadership Team at Grant Thornton, is also joining us. It's great to have you with us, gentlemen. Coming to you first, Vishal, to understand what you've set up over here. Now, the nodal agency for government procurement has been the Directorate General of Supplies and Disposal for a very, very, very long time. How was procurement done earlier, before GEM came in? I want to understand the change now that you have GEM up and running. If you can highlight the biggest differences in short, just to get the ball rolling.
Right. So before GEM, the government used to procure through a central purchase organization that is called as Directorate General of Supply and Disposal. They used to come up with rate contract and call tenders for different procurement needs and freeze the price in time for a given period of time. And all the government departments who want to procure and cannot really go for individual tendering processes, they used to get hold of that rate contract and identify things that they want to buy, and a list of suppliers was also there. So they used to procure from there. That was one thing. Otherwise, they used to use that rate contract and place orders directly to sellers. That was another option. And the third option was they used to do independent market survey and identify what they want and then float a tender in newspapers and places like that, and then procure from there. Later on, we kind of moved on and we started doing e-procurement platforms. So today it has been mandated also by Government of India and various state governments to have a e-procurement platform where you can, or you have to rather, place all your needs in terms of tender or a bid, and then everybody puts kind of all those who want to offer something against those, and they come up and offer prices, and then a price is discovered, after which the whole thing becomes offline, and then they can place order and process payments later on.
Sure.
That used to be the historical perspective till now, before we started with GEM.
That's right. So now that you have GEM up and running, paint us the picture as it stands today, Vishal. How many buyers, how many sellers are already on the platform, and which are the items of sale that are finding the most traction over there? Is it goods? Is it services?
Well, as on date, we have this government e-marketplace. It's hosted there in NIC Cloud. And it's doing really well in terms of we are providing a functionality as similar as Amazon, Flipkart, ShopClues, or any of those e-commerce portals that you can think of. We have identified most of the things which most government departments buy most frequently, like computers, laptops, and tabs, and all those office supply things. Most of them are there today on the GEM. And similarly, we are offering services. To begin with, we have already offered service of set taxi services. They are there, and you can go for the spot hiring, and we have tied up with Ola and Uber, and there are services like for leasing taxis, for monthly hiring, and these things are already there. And then more and more services we are trying and bringing back into the folds of GEM. So both products and services are on there, and then we have registered sellers. Today the number is well beyond 1200 numbers in terms of sellers offering more than 3000 products. And since its inception and launch, we have done a business of around 45 crores as on date. So procurement is changing. Now people are coming over to GEM marketplace, see what they want, compare, and then get the price that they want.
Yes.
And the prices are also compared with the best of the prices in terms of whatever is available anywhere else in the e-commerce portal. Also, we are comparing them and suggestive prices are being thrown up to the buyers.
I understand.
So it's not like really getting into, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, this is something that is being built on a large scale, but still we are at a nascent stage. I want Mohandas Pai to come in on this. Mr. Pai, this seems like a tall order, and I intend no pun over here. The need to bring about transparency, that is huge for a nation that is ranking 76th on a 167 nation corruption index. We are pretty much high there. What are your own expectations on what the government can achieve through the e-marketplace in that regard? Because ever since the finance minister, he announced the establishment of a tech-driven platform by the DGS&D in his last union budget, the stated aim was clear, was to bring about greater transparency, greater speed, better efficiency in public procurement. On these three parameters at least, what's your own assessment of the government e-marketplace? What can it do with it?
Well, I think that is a very interesting development because Government of India procures a lot of goods and services, and right now they're done through various ministries. Possibly there's no standard form contract all across the board. The negotiation, the pricing, the delivery mechanism processes are different in different areas. The payment mechanism is also very different. It will help to have one single database of all procurement and services and create a portal where suppliers of goods and services could come and compete, and there will be greater transparency. Government will benefit because there will be more competition, there will be better price discovery, hopefully better quality, and industry will benefit because they should be able to deliver better and have more transparency and also get the payments on time. Because the payments don't come on time, the data will be on the portal and it will all be recorded because the flow through for fulfillment will be very clear. So I think it's a very interesting development, and it will also reduce corruption. It will reduce the ability of some departments to rig up the tender with specs which favor a few, etc., because it will be very open to everybody.
Certainly, but Harish, I want your take on this. Greater efficiencies in government procurement, that can come about just like anywhere else when you have a certain level of bulk buying. Today, we are in a situation where we don't have defense and railways, the biggest government procurers. They're not on GEM yet. Can we expect that critical mass to be achieved anytime soon in the light of them not being on GEM yet?
Well, I think there is a critical mass with the government itself. Government buys. I mean, you look at the number of government employees across the country, just their day-to-day needs of stationery, computers, and travel would be significant, and that's what they're doing. And this is obviously a trial that the government is doing to establish that this works, it is efficient, and it makes sense. So I think it is the initial phase, and we must support and welcome the government initiatives in this area, because if we allow this to be successful, then it should be easy to port it onto other departments, whether it is railways, telecom, and who knows, one day even defense. There are a lot of challenges today for people to engage with the government, and we know a number of suppliers who say, I don't want to deal with government, I don't want to deal with the paperwork, I don't want to deal with the payment delays, I don't want to deal with the corruption, and therefore the government is missing out on quality goods and services, as well as there is clearly a higher price the government pays because of these inefficiencies. But you got to start somewhere. We have a system which is inherited practically from the British, and changing that takes time. What is also important is to get agencies like CAG behind this process, get them also to ratify the process so that they don't come later with a heavy arm saying this doesn't meet some requirement of transparency, and they may have some useful inputs in getting this very efficient, transparent.
I want Vishal to come in on this point that you're raising, because auditing is going to be as crucial. When you talk about transparency, it needs to be as close to 100% as possible. Vishal, what is the move on this? Would the CAG be involved in the entire audit process of what happens on GEM as well? That's something that we're watching out for very closely.
Right. So the thing is, like, the moment you usher in this digital platform, all the information is available, as well as requirement and specifications. Everything is available to all the sellers at a point in time. So all of them are there in a level playing field. So this competition is supposed to reduce price. We are having a complete audit trail of every transaction that is taking place on GEM. So we can trace back what has happened, when has it happened, it is time stamped, it is date stamped. So we have a complete audit trail to kind of get back to anything that has happened and to fix accountability. And when it comes to a point where purchase has been made or is being made, we have a facility of comparing the price with market price, as well as also the 3 last purchase prices of a particular product that is being bought. And also we are planning to kind of click and check if a similar product has been brought in an earlier purchase, that price is also be reflected on the portal. So buyer has complete information, seller has complete information to make a decision which is pretty much assisted by the intelligence that is there in the market. So
the point was about having an agency to control the audit process as well. You would need that as much as it's transparent. You would still need a CAG kind of body to make sure that everything is as it needs to be.
Exactly. So we are getting into the financial audit very soon. That process is underway.
Sure.
Every process that we are conducting over the GEM will be kind of duly audited by CAG. That is underway. And security and other personal and functional and performance audits are being done on a regular basis from STQC. So we are on the way. I mean, as just said, that it's a nascent process. We expect a lot of support from various angles to grow up and do the job well.
Harish, I just want to talk about, this being obvious that the government marketplace, the e-marketplace, has been designed like an Amazon, a Flipkart, or a Snapdeal. Of course, in look and design, it does that to an extent, in operation as well. What's your takeaway from this kind of similarity that has been built in? The similarity, where it begins, where it ends. What's the takeaway from that? How quickly does it lend itself to adaptation by government procurers? Is there a point to be made there?
Well, I think there is experience of the marketplaces for the last few years with the coming in of e-commerce, and clearly the government has taken a leap out of that rather than trying to reinvent a new approach to doing this. And I think it's easier to do that than to try and set up a brand new process. What is important is how does the fulfillment take place, how is it tracked, measured and monitored. And I think at some point we'll have to move away from standardized products because everything keeps changing. I mean, if you're looking at a laptop, there are hundreds of designs of laptops. Then there are choices to be made between Microsoft and Apple, and sometimes somebody else may come up with a new solution, and that needs to be evaluated. So probably it is easy to do for the standardized products, and then it's important to get the non-standard products also in. If somebody has a product which is slightly more expensive but much more efficient and useful in the long term, how does that get evaluated? Currently, I think the system works purely on price matching and price discovery. It's a good start, but there are a lot of angles that need to be resolved.
That's right.
And I'm sure that will get done over a period of time.
That's right. So the focus is huge in terms of what can be achieved through this in transparency, in the entire tie-in with the demonetization drive, as well as Digital India. All of that, those are the dots that need to be connected. So there will be a lot more we'd expect. And how efficient are payments on this kind of platform as well? Those are the points we'll pick up right after this very small break. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching our special show, Taking the E-Way. The government now going for transparency in government procurement of goods and services. They're making it all digital through their Flipkart-like platform that's called Government E-Marketplace. Let's get more of this discussion going and understand the challenges, as it were. Mohandas Pai, accessibility to the internet, that's going to be a major challenge, getting it across to the remote parts of the country. How do you reckon this is going to get addressed if GEM is to work? Because the pace of internet access penetration is really going to determine how much a platform such as this actually finds momentum. The pickup is going to be determined by that.
I think the country is ready. We must not carry this bogey of smaller towns anywhere too far. Please tell me, do you have data how many companies from smaller towns actually compete? How many people come on this portal and they supply services? I think it's a bogey that is being given by people just for their own ends. Most people who compete for government contracts come from reasonable town. They don't come from remote villages. They don't give contracts because with any contract that will be in the local area. And those won't be in the portal anyway. They'll be state government dominated. One central government contracts are all by fairly well-known people because it will go through a registration process. So I think this bogey is being raised by certain people to sabotage it, and we should ignore it. And I think the country is fairly well covered with bandwidth. And if they're not, they have to go get it. Easy to get bandwidth in many places. People have to make efforts.
Yes, but at this point in time, it's still, like we said, nascent. A lot of groundwork needs to happen. Even getting that bandwidth right now can be a potential challenge. We've seen it in the demonetization as well, where the availability of ATMs, etc., is posing challenges of its own. But then there is the other challenge. We shall come in on this. Anyone using this portal needs to put in their personal mobile phone numbers and their Aadhaar biometric cards. At one level, the country's apex court, it's prohibiting the government from making the UID mandatory. They're hearing cases that challenge its constitutionality. And then there is this effort to bring about greater transparency. How much of a deterrent do you think this is going to be in a more secular adaptation of GEM as a platform?
Okay, so as of now, it has not been really a deterrent. And we have experienced that, yes, people are like using their Aadhaar card, and there is a registered mobile number on Aadhaar card which kind of gets an OTP for registering over the portal. It hasn't been deterrent because we have to actually have a method wherein we are binding an individual with a position wherein he's performing in his official capacity. And we are not really getting into any kind of digital signature and all. We are using e-sign, and e-sign requires KYC information that comes from Aadhaar database. So till now it has not really been a deterrent, and rather it has been very well accepted by people, and they are even going ahead and if their mobile number has changed or if they have adopted some new email ID, they are going ahead and even making those changes in the Aadhaar database.
So why did you come in on this? Because the difference is that through the traditional system, government nominees were procuring on behalf of the government. Now there is personal accountability over here. That can be as much a game changer as a potential deterrent. Do you think so? Harish, that question was for you.
No, sorry, that was me. No, I think accountability is something that had to happen, and I'm sure even in the current system with the CAG and everything, there is accountability, but this gets much more exacerbated and visible for people to do the most efficient procurement. I had a thought here that while the government is building this system, there are large private companies who have been buying a lot of items through e-procurement, and whether it's the Walmart variety or even Tata Steel variety, there is a lot of knowledge and experience in the private sector, and I would suggest that maybe it's useful to co-opt some of those people, just like the Aadhaar was done, so that the best practices from there can be incorporated.
Also, Harish, what the government is aiming to purchase on its e-marketplace platform is twice as much as a Flipkart, what it aims to sell in goods through the year. So there's no doubt that the scope over here is enormous. But what does it say about the present and future of the marketplace ecosystem, as it were? We've seen consolidation in that space. Jabong was acquired. There's AskMe that has shut down in the past. Now with the government getting into it, albeit, of course, like we keep saying, it's at a nascent stage. But what does it bode for e-commerce in India?
Well, I think this is, e-commerce is independent of this. This is procurement, and that is commerce between bringing buyers and sellers together. Here it is one buyer going to get services from multiple customers. The model may be same, but obviously the government is the biggest player in any economy, and clearly in the Indian market too. So it is going to be a big buyer, but I don't see any connection between consolidation in the e-commerce space and this initiative of the government.
That's right. So what you're saying is that as far as the entire playout is concerned, you don't see as many hurdles in terms of the adaptation, because there are a lot of these training programs that are happening as well, and Vishal would probably tell us about those as well. But before I come to that, Mohandas Pai, two of the country's biggest procurers, Defence and Railways, they're not on the government e-marketplace yet, like we mentioned earlier. I want to understand from you, Vishal, how soon before we see them come on board right now? Because that could perhaps be the game changer as well, because then you have something that is all pervasive as a system.
Right. So we are already making efforts. We have had meetings with the Department of Defense and even with Railway Board, and we are trying to make them understand the value of what it is when it's like the whole procurement process is kind of online and driven by defined service levels that has been brought in by changing business processes and amendment of GFR. So I mean, like, we see value, but then as you say, the change takes time, and it maybe in some more time, maybe we'll be able to make them understand what we're trying to do and how it's going to benefit Department of Defense as well as Railways without really actually entering, creating any kind of prospective breach into the system that they have. So I think very soon we will be able to do that in DOD and Railways.
Vishal, what about the return and refund policy? Because as it works on other platforms like the one that you modeled yourself on, that needs to be seamless as well. Is that system in place right now? Because again, to get more and more adaptation, you need to ensure that that process is as smooth.
Right. So in government process of procurement, what happens is there is a process of PRC and CRAC, that is kind of a primary check on the whatever is being procured, and then there is a confirmation that whatever has been received by the consignees as per the desired level of specifications that were asked for, only then the payment process begins. So if there is a problem in the initial stage, at the stage of inspection itself, which is integral part of GEM, and it is again online, the buyer has the possibility of returning the whole thing, and then the payment doesn't get processed. So, but after delivery, after payment, if there is a dissatisfaction, then it goes into an arbitration, which has not been handled as on date online, but in times to come, maybe we will have a better process for that too.
Sure. Listening to all of this, Mohandas Pai, come in on this, because if this works, then not only would India be at par with countries like the US and South Korea, but it's going to bring about a sea change in the way the government does business. We're looking at a groundswell of change in the operation of the economy as such. And yet, when we talk about it, because there are cynics all around, there is still that big if, isn't it?
Well, I would say that what the government is doing is fantastic. It'll expand the marketplace, create a level playing field for many suppliers across the country, lower the cost and create greater transparency and reduce corruption. It'll take maybe 6 months, 1 year, 2 years for the impact to be felt. And it's happening in many states too. It's part of the trend that we're seeing in many states. Karnataka has an e-procurement policy. Everything has to be on the portal. If they say it's reduced cost by 20% in a substantial number of cases. So I think across India, with the union government doing it, I think it's a great move, and it will break the stranglehold of certain suppliers who have been supplying to the government for a fairly long amount of time, rigging up the specs and the tender specifications. It will reduce corruption. So I think I'm all for it. I'm all for more openness and more digital procurement. And since it's digital, I think it's a fantastic move, and we must congratulate the government for this.
Harish, what are the pitfalls that one would need to watch out for? Because in creation of these efficiencies, perhaps those checks and balances are just as important. You've red flagged one of them on the audit as well. But looking at it as an entire enterprise and the change in the nature of the way we do business and making the economy that much more resilient, that much more dynamic, what role do you think GEM is going to play going ahead, and what do we need to really watch out for?
Well, I think the first thing to watch out for is all the naysayers will find 5,000 reasons why this is not the way to do it and put a lot of pressure to push back on this and point out small things which may not work perfectly, as if the existing system works very perfectly, and that's something that we should encourage the government not to give up on this effort, because some people are saying it. Having said that, yes, any procurement process, there is a little bit of discretionary thinking. If I needed a piece today versus tomorrow, and I needed it urgently for a particular reason, I might have to pay more. We need to get all those special situations recorded, and obviously I'm sure GEM will take care of those. So I don't see any pitfalls. There will be learning and adaptation to go along, but biggest pitfall is the naysayers who will come up with 100 reasons why this should not be permitted.
I'm sure Vishal has to deal with them on a daily basis, but Vishal, I'm sure you have other concerns because you're aiming to grow this at a rapid pace. I want to understand from you how you think this is going to tie into the entire demonetization drive of the government. Transparency is where it's at, like we started off by saying, and also Digital India, this huge move. How much of an impetus can GEM give to this entire two themes that the government, as it were, has started?
Well, going by the present time, I think we have arrived with a right point in time, and we are coming up with various solutions which are like reducing cash-based transaction for government, and it has been very well taken by various small commonly used goods and services, and we expect more and more people to come on in. We are expecting more. We are actually having a heavy infall of users and people inquiring about particular products and services which are being offered, and how can they join in the bandwagon. And then said the same is the story with sellers also, that they also are interested to offer their goods and services, and they are kind of attending our conferences and trainings which are being carried out across the country in a big number. And yes, as has been mentioned, that yes, there are various attempts to kind of tell us that why should it not be done this way, and as it has been mentioned in the earlier debate also. So I think yes, we are aware of it. We are trying to be watchful. We have very able senior leadership in terms of officers, and they are guiding us through this whole thing. And we have been able to move ahead till now, pretty much secure our position and do the business the way it should be. And in times to come also, I think with the present emphasis on cashless transactions, and even government has mandated that anything beyond 5,000 should be cashless. So I think we'll have much more to look forward to for GEM with the cautious treading, obviously.
Yes, of course. We like to be cautious. These are difficult times, but indeed we need to say goodbye to the naysayers, because this is a move in the right direction, as is coming across as well. We need more transparency, and the efficiencies that need to be built into this economy by way of transactions, and government being such a huge procurer, perhaps they are the right people to lead the way as such. Thanks very much, Vishal Singh. Great luck is what we hope for you in the future. Mohandas Pai and Harish HV, great of you to join us on this entire discussion. That's it from us. Bye-bye for now.